Hello, this is Stuart from Hear Me See Me podcast. Today I've got a lovely guest, Michelle Fairley. We've met recently, it's nearly a year ago. We met at a wedding of a wonderful friend of ours. And we've been, I've been trying to get her to come along to one of our projects, and she's a very busy lady, but she did a couple of weeks ago. And, we had a great evening together, which we'll talk about later. But today I'm talking with Michelle Fairley. How are you, my darling?
Hi, Stuart. Good to see you again. Yeah, I'm okay, thank you.
Thanks for giving me, it's a lovely day out there, and it looked like a lovely day there. So thanks for giving me an hour of a beautiful Saturday afternoon. So I'm grateful for it. For anyone who's, people are tuning in for it. If we can start, where did you grow up, and what was your childhood like?
I grew up in the north of Ireland, in County Antrim.
Right.
In a place called Ballycastle, which is a seaside town, and it's on the wild Atlantic coast, and it's incredibly beautiful. And it was a very, very small little seaside town and very safe. I only had about two bombs. And so growing up in the north in 60s, 70s, 80s, that's not, that's quite low. And very idyllic, sort of peaceful childhood. 5 brothers and sisters, lots of freedom, lots of running free, wild, without any issues or fears. So it was quite an idyllic little childhood, really. Very protected, and basically days spent running wild on the beach and with animals, with horses, with dogs, with mates. So yeah. Very naive, very much so.
Yeah.
So when you eventually, ventured out into the big wide world, you were sort of like not really ready for it.
Yeah, I can imagine. And with all that going on at that time, I mean, I think I was, I was born in 62, so the 70s and the 80s, and everything going on at that time, you think it's incredible that you sort of missed a lot of that, with where you were.
Yeah, I mean, very much so, because literally, I mean, that Ireland at that time was, was really, sort of, it wasn't a trendy up to the, even Belfast, it wasn't a hip city. You couldn't, only on a Sunday in Belfast, nothing in the north of Ireland. Oh, that's the dog at the door. I might have to let him in, actually.
Yes, okay.
He's going to keep battering the door with his paw, going, let me in. And he, so it was a very sort of, it wasn't an advanced place to live, but it was a beautiful place to live. And, it had its advantages, had its disadvantages, it was governed very differently. You couldn't if you wanted to go for a drink on a Sunday, the only place you could go to was an hotel.
Really?
There were no bars or anything open on a Sunday, nothing. Restaurants, very rarely, only hotels.
Wow.
And that was to do with religion, basically.
Yeah.
It was a country, and it's still a country that's was ruled by, religious parties. So it was an interesting place. But when you grow up in it, Stuart, you don't know any different.
No, of course not. I was fairly out of the way. I'm near East London, but I was pretty more in the country when I was a kid. And you don't. You just you live in what you live in, don't you?
Absolutely.
We used to go pea picking and potato picking in the fields. My mum used to work in the fields, and we used to go along. And I look back now, and it was a beautiful way to be brought up. We was really lucky.
I know, we were very fortunate in terms of the access that we had to rural life, and I mean, no computers. The only way to find out anything was actually through encyclopedias or word of mouth, sitting listening to people telling you stories or about their travels or books. Television, but no internet, no phones, no sitting gazing at a tablet.
No, that's it.
And
it
was all about communication and getting out and running wild, running free.
Beautiful way to be brought up. So what sort of when did you first get into acting? What was that?
God, you know, I don't know. Actually, is the honest answer to that, Stuart. It's just like it was something that I just knew I always wanted to. I had an interest in, and yes, I remember mentioning it once to somebody, and I was sort of laughed at, so I didn't really mention it again.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it just became this thing that you kept quiet, you know.
Dirty secret.
Yeah. So,
I want to be an actress.
yeah. No, you can't. No, because you didn't know anybody who was an actor. Do you know what I mean?
No,
So,
no, no.
I mean, vaguely through my granny, on my dad's side, we knew Ray McNally's mum, you know.
Yeah,
So, and Ray McNally was a huge actor. I mean, he's no
yeah,
longer alive, God rest him. But I hadn't met Ray McNally. I didn't know anything. I had only seen him on the screen. So I didn't
yeah,
know any actors. I'd never met an actor. I just
yeah,
watched, you know, the theatre or the telly. So
yeah,
and
yeah.
films, cinema. But yeah, so I guess it was just something that was there innately and within me, and I just sort of like just kept pushing,
Did you
secret.
go to acting school? Did you go to drama school?
I started. I started, and then a tutor put me up for a job,
Oh,
and I got it at. It was 3 months, and it was a play in London. So as a first year, so I had a choice of whether to continue or take the play. So I took the play,
good. Yeah,
and that was with a company called Payne's Plough, and it was a play called Joyriders.
right.
And that was my first ever theatre job, my first ever professional job, full stop.
Really.
Yeah.
And so was that the first time you've been over to England, like to
No, gosh,
live?
no. We'd been over to England many times, but it was the
Yeah,
first time I'd lived in England.
lived. That's what I
Yeah,
meant. Like
that
lived
was
in England.
in the 80s. Yeah, that would have been mid-80s.
Oh wow. I
Yeah.
was hanging around in London in the mid-80s.
I think there were a lot of us.
I won't go to the theatre though. I'd say that. I shouldn't say that. I was because I did used to enjoy going to the theatre. And in them days, I remember sort of really lucky that I went to the right time. That I saw Richard Harris in Camelot
Oh, really? Did you see
on
that?
stage. Yeah, yeah, I saw that. I saw Peter O'Toole.
Did you see the Macbeth? No, it
No,
wasn't
the
Macbeth.
importance of being earnest. He
The
was in
important-
Hero too. Yeah, yeah. So
Yeah.
I saw some amazing people doing some great stuff. I didn't appreciate it until I'm older, and I think
Mm.
what a thing that was to sort of see.
No, but we don't appreciate these things, because we're so
No,
too young, to
yeah,
appreciate the enormity of it, or this,
yeah,
the, you know, what a privilege it is to see, because we get
yeah,
so much access to everyone and everything these days now that
yeah,
it's taken so much for granted. With that, the only way to see people like Richard Burton, Elizabeth Taylor, Peter
yeah,
O'Toole,
yeah,
those sort of like proper film stars,
yeah,
it was to actually, when they did theatre, if they did theatre, but not
yeah.
every actor did theatre.
No, I mean that I'll never forget the even though I was young, but I still remember like Richard Harris in Camelot, and I'll often watch the film.
Uh-huh.
It's just I'm a bit of an old romantic, and it's like it's a real sad story, but it was such a magical event, and I love soundtracks as well because often rather than have sort of music in the car, I'll have a soundtrack because it
Oh,
evokes so many memories, doesn't it? Of
yeah,
films and it's
absolutely.
so powerful.
And film music is really powerful because it's all
Yeah,
about underscoring the emotion or heightening the emotion of what you're visually seeing as well.
yeah,
So it literally can transport you straight back to that place in the film without you realizing it because it's so cleverly manipulative.
yeah.
Yeah.
In the mornings, I often go to a kickboxing gym and I'll have my earphones in, and then,
Seriously, you do
yeah,
kickboxing? Yeah.
yeah. I used to do it years ago. I can just about stand up in the corner now. It's about I didn't used to do it, but my old instructor, I go and train with them and that. And but I'll have my earpods in, and we're all going away, on the machine and all that. And I'll have the Rocky Horror Picture Show, Sweet Transvestite blaring out in my ear.
Good
Uh,
God.
Yeah, I don't think they'd really appreciate listening to that if it come out, you know.
Yeah.
But I saw that again recently. Actually, and I used to watch it years ago, but we saw a recent version of it in the theatre, the Rocky Horror Picture Show, and it's such a fun night, you know, everyone joining in and that.
I recently heard a thing on the radio. It was an interview with the actress who played Magenta in it. And she was Irish.
Patricia Quinn.
Yeah. Oh, God, well done, Stuart. I didn't know her name, but and she I didn't know she was originally from the north of Ireland. So
really? Yeah.
Absolutely. And she was the original Magenta.
Yeah. That's her lips at the beginning when it started. Yeah.
Right.
That's her singing that. Yeah.
Did you see the original, Stuart? Did you see it?
Yeah.
Did you see it in it?
I saw the original stage show, and but I saw the film when it came out, and it was probably about mid-70s, so I was probably a sort of early teenager, so it was quite a thing for me, you know, like at that age, you know, like it was very sort of sexual and everything, and I was at an impressionable age is the word I'm looking for. So I think I went to see it 3 or 4 times.
Yeah, absolutely.
I didn't know what was going on, but something was happening. And at the same time, I went to see, around about that time, I was too young, but my sister's friends let me in the fire escape, and I went to see The Exorcist.
Oh, crikey. Yeah.
And that I couldn't sleep properly for about 3 months.
Really?
You think that at that time we were watching things like Dracula and Peter Cushing and Christopher Lee and that, and William Friedkin made this film with no CGI and no, you know, and it's incredible what he did with a film with the resources that he had, you know.
Yeah. It's still terrifying watching that scene. It's horrible, isn't it?
Yeah.
And it's the voice and everything. It's just it's absolutely horrible.
Yeah, I don't think I'll be listening to that soundtrack. I don't think. But even then, Tubular Bells, it's just as soon as that film starts, the Tubular Bells just gets you straight to that, you know.
Yeah.
Would you prefer, I know it's probably a silly question, but I'm full of them. What do you prefer, like film or theatre, do you think? What's your real thing that you prefer?
It's not a silly question, Stuart.
Good.
I think it's, you know, I started off in theatre. You know, so a theatre's my grounding, you know, that's where I was educated.
Yeah.
And the nature of theatre acting has changed enormously. You know, I didn't think that I'd ever be working in film and television ever. You know, I thought I'd just be theatre. And it's the way the business has changed over the years. It's given you the opportunity to be able to sort of like, you know, traverse both. And continue to, thankfully, touch wood. So, I mean, I love theatre for the intensity of it and the pre-work that you have to put in, and you know, in the rehearsals, and even before you get to rehearsal. And then, of course, like the performance itself is a different game again, because it's constantly changing, it's constantly evolving, and without you realizing it. And even when you finish a job, it stays in your head. And even if you're walking down, I mean, it's happened to me many times, you're walking down the street and suddenly you go, shit, that's what that line's about. You know, why didn't I do that? You know what I mean? It literally just constantly plays in your head all the time.
Yeah.
And people think, you know, oh, it's only a few hours a day in the evening, do you know what I mean? And maybe twice on certain days, but your brain kicks in. Your whole day is geared towards that performance going to the theatre in the evening, you know, the way you have to structure your meals, the way your brain starts to click in, you know. So it is a whole sort of like preparation. It's, you know, whole day preparation. If that does, I don't want that to sound too wanky or twatty, but it's it is, you know. And
I get that. So you can't just rock up
No.
on the and then just do it and then turn up and then quit. It's got it's a performance, so it's something that comes from out of you, I would think.
Yeah, and it's something that that the more you get to know the play as well and the character, the richer the richer your sort of like depth becomes. It's like dare I say it, like when you make a stew. Not that I make stew because I don't eat meat, but
Mm.
like a gravy or something. The,
Yeah,
the longer it's allowed to mature, the better it is, the
yeah,
richer it is.
yeah,
And that's because it just it's informed by different, intensities of flavor, the longer it is allowed to
yeah,
sort of like,
yeah,
sort of evolve really. So it's a bit like that, Stuart. I mean,
yeah.
yeah.
Do some roles take something out of you? Like do some of the deep roles, and we're going to go on to one soon. But I often wonder if they sort of take a piece out of you.
Um, I mean, I think roles, if you can be really tired when you finish a job, actually, because
Mm,
it is physical, and that's like whether it's in theatre or on screen,
mm,
and sometimes, if it's an emotional role, a very emotional role, it can be a little bit, it can be exhausting. But I mean, there are worse things in the world, to be doing. Um, and sometimes, you know, sometimes there's a purging of stuff too,
yeah,
maybe you're ready to purge something unconsciously,
yeah,
so therefore it's easy to access. It's not easy to access, but in terms of making it believable, as
yeah,
well, without being indulgent. If
yeah,
nobody
yeah,
wants somebody having a wank on screen, but
yeah,
it's actually, there has to be a truth behind it.
yeah, yeah. Because they can be, some of these roles can be so powerful, and they do, as you say, they do evoke stuff from your past. I mean, I watched. I mean, when I was a kid, I was abused when I was a kid by a man that lived nearby, and I've said about this freely, and it used to have a terrible hold over me, terrible, But I've dealt with it, and I've moved on, and I can talk freely about it, and I can help other people with that because of I took the power out of that anyway. But I was watching this film called Sleepers, and this was before I dealt with it, and this was Kevin Bacon, and it was about a home. Kids in a kids' home, but they saw the guy out later on in life, and it was such a powerful film that. But I was watching it with my wife. I don't even know if we had kids at the time, and we just sit and watch this film, and I weren't reacting to the film. I didn't realise that tears was flooding down my face.
Wow. Yeah.
This is a film people make light of. That's only entertainment. This film was so created such a response in me, and in the end, I couldn't watch the end of that film for another few years, which I'm glad that I did watch it in the end, and it's a brilliant movie, that one. And that's the thing. It's that these things are these stories are so evocative, but then storytelling over the generations and the ages has always been the way to move people, isn't it?
Yeah,
It's the way the great communicators are.
totally. It's
It's
like
done through story.
passing on information. It's about encouraging people to, you know, to, you know, to be brave. Like in that situation. I mean, I'm sorry, Stuart, I didn't know anything about that. What an awful thing to happen. Um, I mean, it's a lot of people, recently, because I know in Ireland with the priests and the Catholic Church and the abuse in
Mm,
schools and homes and the Magdalene laundries as well.
mm,
A lot of, I mean, sometimes people suppress these things because they just
yeah,
can't. They can't actually deal with them. It's
mm,
trauma. It's absolute trauma,
mm,
and sometimes people just go through life not even with any connection to that trauma because they just can't acknowledge it. They can't go there
yeah,
because it like it turns your whole life. Your whole life has already been turned upside down anyway by abuse, but to come out and be honest and open about it and brave about it is another trauma as well. But eventually it's a release, as you say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, sorry, I didn't mean if that upset you saying that, but it's the thing is that I'm a bit, maybe I'm a bit too flippant when I say it like that, because you forget it's going to have an effect on people. But what I like to say is that why I talk about, that happened in my past, my alcoholism, my drug addiction, all the things I do freely speak about, is to say to people, that you're living proof that you can overcome these things. And, the more people that go out there, because the more people out there say, look, I got through it, the more people think there's hope. It's a way of spreading hope, I think. So I'll always, some people are very private with their, anonymous with their addiction recovery and stuff like that. I'm quite open because I think people need to know that there is a solution. There is hope out there for anything that you can go through in life.
How many years clean, Stuart?
17. Yeah.
That's
17,
amazing.
17. Yeah.
How did it progress with you? Do you know what I mean? What was do you stop everything at one go, or?
Oh yeah. I was a heavy drinker. I was heavily into drugs as well.
Mm.
I held on to my family. And I was very, very lucky to hold on to my family.
Amazing wife. Amazing wife.
Yeah, good old Julie. She's wonderful, and But to be honest, she recently said to me, and she said before, but I didn't realise that she'd already told me this. But it was quite a shock recently when she said, "Well, I was already nearly out the door." So that last drink, when I finally had a drink. On a Sunday, we had a family thing, and I ended up on Monday morning in my cabin and realising that I'd done wrong, and I sort of walked down the garden, and she's getting the kids ready for school, and I could see them all having breakfast, and I was waiting for the tirade of abuse, and I opened the door, and I was met with complete apathy. So it's just they'd had enough.
Yeah, totally.
And she's gone to school, and I've gone in the cupboard to get a hair of the dog. And my daughter's 7-year-old daughter has wrote a note saying, "Daddy, please don't drink anymore."
Oh gosh! Yeah.
And it hit me like an arrow in the heart. And I just got the newspaper, found the recovery number, and I phoned that up, and boom, and then and I was desperate enough to stick with it. But unfortunately, people aren't always desperate enough to see it through, because it's hard at the beginning, and But if you've got something really powerful behind you saying, "Look, you've got to stop this." But she said to me recently that she was already planning with her mum that she was going to take the kids and live at her mum's.
Mm-hmm.
And her mum had, said, "Look, and then she said that because after a couple of weeks, she said, "Well, he seems to be changing." She said, "Well, look, the door's open. You come with them kids anytime." I knew I'd pushed it. I didn't know how close.
How close you came to losing, absolutely.
Yeah. I'm eternally grateful every day, and it's like we're going to talk about the work that I do later, but that's why I do it, because it constantly reminds me, and that's why I've got such empathy with a lot of the guys I meet, because I know that they're my sliding doors moment.
Absolutely, Stuart.
Yeah,
it's like the other night with you guys, and the diversity of people that came through the church door. It's extraordinary, and there, for the grace of God, any of us can go.
Yeah.
And I would say it's a momentary decision. Like you're reading that note from your daughter, suddenly made you go, "That's it," and it's heartbreaking. It's absolutely heartbreaking, because these are they're the same as us people, that unfortunately life has taken them somewhere else, and it could happen to me, it could happen to anybody, and you just don't know why fate allows you to go through life, and others go through life and have these awful, traumatic, horrible experiences, homelessness, not even like away, countryless,
Yeah.
It was,
I've met lots of refugees,
yeah,
and it's that you can't imagine. I mean, even it's the stories you hear, isn't it? And that's what we're saying about storytelling. They, there was a woman, because we've got a book, we've got here Simi book, which are the images of the people we've met, and
I know about the book. Yeah, I've seen
yeah,
it.
it's like we're very, very lucky that Jack Eames followed us around for a couple of years and took these wonderful. But there's a lady I met in Wakefield, and she said to me, I think it might be a quote that's in the book. We picked up these quotes from someone, but she said to me, I started doing her hair, and then she said, I've got an interview to get back into work and that. And then she said to me, it's not my fault I'm here, She said, my husband gambled our house away. And that statement like really stuck with me, and I just, so it showed that she was obviously, embarrassed by her situation.
Yeah.
It's and it wasn't of her own doing. Like, what can you do if your husband gambles your house away? You divorced, but you've still got no home.
Yeah.
That situation led her to the other problems like mental health breakdown, substance abuse, those types of things. But her life was actually merrily plodding along in a very nice way, So sometimes, because people can be judgmental, and it's like it's not of their doing sometimes.
No, I know, and we don't know what's been going on in anyone's life. You know what I mean? It's like the people, like that lovely guy that, who came in and he got number 25, for the haircut. And he sat so close to the hair cutting station because he was so desperate that he could get his hair cut because he had an interview the next day.
Yeah.
And you, bless you, Stuart, you were working so hard. And, it was like, get him over now, because it's, you could just see that, like, he was so anxious about getting that haircut to look good.
Yeah.
For that interview. And I've been thinking about him a lot, going, gee, I hope he got the bloody dog. I hope he got the dog.
Yeah.
Really
I think I'll be able to find out, because they don't always, the places we go to, they don't always follow up, and sometimes they don't come back. And it's that thing of sometimes they don't come back because their circumstances change for the good.
Yeah.
Then sometimes they don't come back because we lose them. Like there's lots of things like that you see, and hear. But I better clarify, because we're chatting away, we know what happened, but no one else does. Is the fact that after a while, we managed to get you to, and you did want to come. I'm saying that wrong, because it sounds like you didn't want to come, but you're very busy, and was trying to get you to come along to one of these things. And you came along Friday before last. Is it? I don't know what week I am.
Yeah, it was last Friday, wasn't it?
Last Friday, yeah. To this wonderful place we go to, St Columba's, which ironically is really a few yards from Harrods. So you've got all the wealth in the world, and then you've got this on a Friday night. People come to get fed, don't they? And
I know when I left you guys on Friday night, Stuart, and you and your sister went off, and I walked back as well. I coming from St Columba's and meeting a lot of those people, and being, watching you and your sister and the other brilliant hairdressers who give their time up, to do that, and the people to feed and cook and clean up afterwards. And then the juxtaposition of walking out of there and then walking down the street and walking past a woman who has the most up-to-the-minute pram with a baby in it, and has got a very exclusive child sort of monitoring system that's playing music to the child as it's walking out on a really busy street, and it's just that, from the sublime to the ridiculous. It's just a life, the juxtapositions, and as you say, just around the corner from Harrods. It's crazy.
It is.
It exists.
And it's sort of hidden in plain sight there, isn't it? And that it's a strange one that always gets me. But I did do it in New York once, and that's got a very similar thing.
Mm.
You know, you can go a few blocks one way and you could be in the most abject poverty, and then, you know, a few blocks another way and you're amongst, you know,
Yeah.
opulence, you know. But
Mm.
there's nothing, I don't want to be one of these that sort of makes people feel guilty about doing well in life, because we need to do well in life, you know, we need to aspire to do well, and it's nice to reward ourselves. But I always say, it's like, as long as you don't attach your happiness to these things you get, because they're very fleeting, you know, they're very nice, but it's a very quick buzz. It don't last long.
Mm.
The new handbag is just an handbag after a week or so, you know, and all that type of thing.
Yeah.
But because some people, when they come and visit with us, we've had instances and people have contacted me and said, you know, I just feel really guilty because my life's pretty good, you know, and I feel a bit guilty. I've seen these people. And the thing to do is to replace guilt with gratitude.
Yeah.
That's the thing. You know, let it make you more grateful, you know, that we've got the freedoms. Because it's not always about possessions and things like that. A lot of the time it's the freedom of choice that people just don't have anymore in those situations. You know, we've got, even if we're, you know, working, so we have to work, we get some free time, and if we choose to want to buy something, generally, unless it's exceptional, we can treat ourselves, or we can go for a meal, or these things. But sometimes people have got so little choice that they don't know where they're going to sleep that night. They don't know if they can get some food. They don't know if they're safe. You know, if someone's going to beat upon them, or, you know, that so many things that we don't realise. But yeah, it's but we can be grateful for what we got. And I think the best thing for depression or anxiety and all these things is gratitude. Because and every time I go out there doing that, I come home more grateful with what I'm coming home to, you know.
Yeah, appreciative of what you have in life and
Yeah.
the decisions you've made to order to.
Yeah.
Because I mean, it's not been given to you. You worked for it. You know.
It's hard work.
Yeah.
It is hard work, because it's very easy to step back and then why I love doing the work that I do. It reminds me of what I am and who I am.
Mm.
Because the biggest lie that we tell is ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, I start to tell myself that I'm all right and I'm not that bad. No, you're not, you're a fucker, you know, and you put a drink in, you're a double fucker. So, you know, it's don't start thinking you're okay, because you're not, you know. Yeah. And then sometimes you get a bit of praise heaps on you, and, you know, you start to believe that.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, listen, Stuart, you know, the profession I work in, it's full of people who believe their own praise. Do you know what I mean? So, and the word fucker is widely used in many occasions.
Yeah,
So,
I know. I can imagine.
I use it myself.
Yeah, I know. And I think that the sort of the thing of the world you're in and the world I'm in is, you know, the hairdressing world is very much, you know, it's an ego business. Yeah.
Of course,
It's the
the
performing
image.
world is. Yeah.
Totally. And about putting the right image out there, you know, portraying the right image. And, you know, it's big money these days as well, you know, manipulating that whole sort of image thing. Oh, yeah, I love to do this. Oh, yeah, so you'll sponsor me and give me a load of money. Do you know what I mean? It's all cynicism as well, in that respect. But that's why organizations like yours are incredibly important, you know, because they're not, you know, they just do what you do, and that's it. You know.
Yeah. I mean, we skipped a bit, and I do want to, because I just want to talk about it because I loved it. And we got a mutual friend, and that's where we met at a wonderful wedding, which I got in trouble because I said it was the best wedding I've ever been to. And it was 2 months after my daughter got married. So she was a bit offended when I said, oh, it's the best wedding I've ever been to.
Oh,
Stuart. It was wonderful. It was in our garden, and we had a wonderful time.
God, you must have had a big garden.
Sorry? Yeah. It was a long walk of shame I made that day when I read the note. That was a long walk of shame. Yeah. But we, you know, it was such a stunning week, that wedding.
It was wonderful, wasn't
And
it?
we met, and then I know she'd done a short film, and it's now been made into a feature. And I was lucky enough to go to the screening, at the track.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, and I wanted to say about that because I don't know what. Oh no, we can't say too much, can we? It's not out yet, is it? But
no, not at all. But I mean, it's kudos to brilliant Lena. That she got it. She got the financing with her brilliant producer. They plugged away at this for several years to get the money to make this into a feature, and a couple of times it nearly happened and it fell through, and then literally this year, at the beginning, towards the end of last year, suddenly went, it might be happening, and it'll be done on a shoestring, and then suddenly it's like, it's happening at the beginning of January, and it's like, what date in January? Like, it's meant to be the 3rd initially, and I was like, oh my god, that's going to be really after New Year and stuff and blah blah. It's just too, it was like, my god, that's really quick, and then it was pushed again towards the end of January, so which was better, which gave us more time and things like that to get it organized, and it was shot within 3 weeks.
Is that what it took?
I think it was 3, Stuart, and they did a lot of prep beforehand. And I think it was 3 weeks. It's like a bit of a blur now, but and it was on a shoestring with the best intention, great people, lovely crew. We had the same DOP that was on the short, and Candice, the brilliant makeup designer, and the costume people, Sparky and Felix and Lena directing, and same cast, and then some new casts as well. So, and it was fantastic. It was brilliant. I mean, just basically just went on the road and shot the bugger. Do you know what I mean? So, and Lena directed it, and so with the will and the, we just did it.
James Nelson Joyce was incredible in it.
Yeah, James is lovely. Yeah, absolutely.
What brilliant.
Maggie O'Neill, the new girl, playing Sandra, and all the, there's lots of wonderful performances in there. It's. I mean, I haven't seen it yet because I wasn't able to make the screening, and I hate watching myself. So it's I try to avoid that as much as possible. So, but I will watch it one day. I will. Yeah. See what.
What does it do? What feeling does it bring out in you then? Why do you?
Repulsion. I sort of like defeatism. I mean, it's like, makes me feel, oh shit, you're useless, or
Really?
Oh god, yeah, very much so. Very
real self-criticism.
So hard on yourself, and that's why the fuck did I do it that way? Shit, and because it's film, it's
it's done.
Pardon?
Because it's a film, it's done, so you can't like the next night go, I'm going to tweak that.
Totally. And also it's the visual. It's all, I mean, let's be honest, it's the visual as well, because in your head, when you create a character, I give it an image, I give it a face, I give it a body, a look.
Yeah.
So it's not my face that I'm seeing, when I'm playing somebody, it's somebody else's face.
Yeah.
And so to suddenly see my own face is so devastatingly disappointing. Because that's not the person that I created. So it's like,
poor thing.
Pardon?
You poor thing. You're in a constant state of disappointment.
Yeah, totally. Absolutely. That's why it's easier for me not to watch them. Imposter syndrome as well as
Yeah.
disappointment.
Why do we suffer from this? Why this is imposter syndrome? It's crazy, isn't it? That why is this little psyche thing with us? Or people in general.
That big voice in your head.
That voice.
Yeah.
You're not good enough.
I mean, I'm constantly.
The evidence is that you are. You know, the evidence is, you know, like from one thing to another, is you're good at what you do, and you know, so because you wouldn't get no more work, would you? It's rubbish.
Oh, please God, you know, touch
We're
wood.
all touching wood, yeah, yeah.
Word. You know, Stuart, gosh, you know, there's a competence definitely, but in terms of, I mean, I think, you know, it's always about pushing yourself, you know, as
Yeah,
well, like
yeah,
about testing yourself too. It's about,
yeah,
um, in terms of what you know, it's not about saying, oh yeah, I can do that, you know what I mean? It's constantly about testing yourself as to whether, you know, you're capable of doing that. Can I access that, you know, can I convince that, can I convey that, can I portray that, you know, truthfully? So yeah, I guess it's still about pushing yourself. That's what I would describe as ambition, you know,
yeah,
the sort of like the, for me it's that, the quest almost, you know, to test to see if I can actually achieve it, you know.
yeah, yeah. And it would, and the thing is, if that's the case, then it's something you're never going to achieve, because you're never going to achieve perfection.
No, God, you know,
So
even though we think
it's the
we're
quest, isn't it? It's
even though we think that's what we're setting out to achieve, and people say they're perfectionists and they're this and they're that and they're that, but you know, you can't achieve perfection, and that's what keeps you going, that's what keeps you pushing it, because it's like infinity, you know, you're
yeah.
never going to get there, you know, that's
We
it.
just run out of time, don't we? That's the only thing.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Oh, I thought you were here.
No, no, not on here. No.
Oh,
No.
Stuart.
I meant with life. I was being deep.
I know you are. I was being facetious. I know.
Because it
Absolutely.
goes so quick, doesn't it? I'm turned into one of these old people who says, "Oh, it goes so quick as you go," but then it goes quick, you know.
Absolutely. I mean, I mean, I've turned into the cliche of every person when I was a kid that I would, oh God, what? You know, they sound, you know, like we used to say, like my granny, um, you know, who had, you know, in those days, like, you know, hearing issues, but, you know, if you mentioned money or death, she heard you. Do you know what I mean? You know, so it's like, you know, I'm turning into one of those cliches. You know
Yeah,
what I mean? It's
yeah,
like,
yeah.
but you know, I think it's, yeah, it is. It just goes too fast, actually.
It does. It's,
Absolutely
you
goes
know,
far too
and
fast.
you,
And
there's a lot of retro films and things out now, you know, and they've been recently, and you know, you get the Queen one and the Elton John one and all these films, and I just think, my God, like, I had tears in my eyes when I watched the Queen one, Freddie Mercury,
mhm.
because when they done Live Aid, and there was the bit when they come out for Live Aid, and it was done so well, and I just thought, where's the time gone? You know, like what? I've had a family, they've grown up, I've got grandchildren, you know, it just flies. And I think we had these episodes as well, like when mum passed away last year. And you just think it makes you realise that you've got this mortality, you know, that you aren't going to run forever, you know. I think
And
that's, sorry,
sorry, no, sorry. Please finish.
I was just going to say, and that's the one of the things for me with what I've set up with the haircuts runners. What we're looking at trying to do now is I want it to be here after I'm gone. So I want it to be a legacy. I don't want it to be the thing that I did and then stopped. So that's my mission now, is that I feel we've done quite well to get as far spread as we are. But I really do want to make sure it's around for a good long time after I've gone. Because what do you leave? You know.
Absolutely. I mean, it's an amazing thing you've achieved with haircuts for homeless, Stuart, and I wish more people knew about it,
Yeah.
because it's wonderful, and it's one of those, you know, we've done charity things before in our lives, but it's a very good, as you say, you know, to give thanks for your life, you know, and not to feel that you're in any way superior to anybody else. It's just, you know, the cards you get dealt, the fate that comes your way, uh, just watching the community, the people, the community between that community as well. It's the way they look after each other, and I mean it was international, that room. You know, it wasn't just, you know, white English or Irish. You know, you had Colombians in there, you had Spanish, you had Italians, you know, it was humbling, absolutely humbling, and fascinating.
When it won, I've got to have a shout out to my sister.
Yes,
Belinda. Wasn't it wonderful when she started speaking, because she's fluent Spanish, and that young guy from Colombia, you could see their face light up when someone's talking to them in their mother tongue, can't you?
Yeah, it's just wonderful.
Yeah.
And you know, and your sister, so, you know, she's like you, she's there, she's a worker, she's an honest, solid human being. No flights of fancy, nothing. And literally just a wonderful person. And you know, most people go, yeah, I speak Spanish. You know, oh yeah, I speak French. You know, Portuguese, darling. And you know, so for just, you know, just to literally just slip that in, it's just so unassuming, so under the radar, but just honest, and gets on with it, does it?
Yeah.
Like yourself.
Yeah. Anyway,
I know. And
we're here to talk about you, not me. You know, I ain't shut up about myself.
No, it was amazing. I was, I've thought a lot about it since, you know.
It stays with you, doesn't it? Yeah.
It does. It absolutely does.
Yeah.
And you know, that young boy as well, who, you know, he was also cutting hair. He was also homeless.
Yeah.
But, you know, I can cut hair. And then, and he did.
Yeah.
He was literally cutting hair.
Yeah.
You know, there were 4 of you cutting hair at the end of it.
Yeah. Yeah. He was a help because we was really busy.
Yeah.
I think we'd done 30 or something.
Yeah.
It was, and that's why I was so desperate to get that guy's haircut who had the job interview, because we literally we can't stay as long as we want. They shut up as you saw, they shut up at 8:30, and it's like you got to get out. So if anyone doesn't get done, you literally can't stay and do them.
But you know, that was what was so lovely, Stuart. There was no, I mean, I know it varies, you know, as well, you know, and there are times that you can get issues with people when you have lots of people together, even, you know, whether or not they're displaced or homeless or what, you know, non-homeless, whatever, you know, lots of personalities in one room sometimes can erupt. But there was a graciousness about that, you know, people coming in going, but no, mate, you can't get it this week. There are enough spaces. Oh, well, I'll come back in 6 weeks. Yeah. You know, there was just you know, there was no issue, trouble or anything. They were just like, okay, that's just the way it is, you know.
I think that you know, Restart Lives who run that, they give a lot of respect. So I think that's, you know, that's why it works so well in there, because some places we go aren't as level as that. They erupt a bit more, and it's very rarely it does there. But I think a lot of it is done. There's good organisation, good levels of respect given, and you know, behaviour breeds behaviour, doesn't it? So I've been at some that aren't like that, you know, and there again we have a duty of care to our volunteers. So if we are at a particular centre and they don't look after our teams, we unfortunately can't keep going there. And we obviously we communicate really well about it, and then we obviously give them another chance, but they don't get a third chance because we, you know, we have to look after our volunteers. So we're so grateful for them. And that's the thing as well. It's become, since the pandemic, something that we struggle a little bit with now, which we never did. Really? You know, too many volunteers. We couldn't place them all. The point now where we are getting, you know, like Ilford on Wednesday, I was on my own in there.
Really, Stuart?
Yeah. I think I've done 15 haircuts on my own in there. And but I blinder, so and I shouldn't really be saying this because we tell them they're not allowed if they're on their own, but the governor can make exceptions, can't they? But it's just one of those things that I don't, you know, there's a couple of things that I can think is that people are feeling the pinch. So it's not as easy for them to give up half a day once a month.
Yeah.
If they've got to be earning their money, if they're, you know, if they're on the real poverty line, they've just got to keep earning as much and give us little time out as they can. But then there's a little bit that the pandemic and everything was supposed, you know, you thought was going to bring everyone together. But I think everyone did come out of it, or a lot of people came out of it a little bit more self-interested, you know, and not thinking along the lines of other people, you know. So hopefully we'll get that back. We'll get that back of people thinking about others more than themselves.
And I mean, the other thing that you pointed out as well, Stuart, is it's not just homeless people who come to you. You come to those to places like St. Columbo's. It's families who can't make, you know, who can't put food on the table for their children, who can't, you know, pay for their heating and food at the same time. I mean, you turn the radio on anytime now, and constantly you hear people like talking about rationing their heating, rationing the number of meals they can have a day, you know, so rationing what they can spend on whatever because of the times that we're living in. And it's terrifying. You know, every supermarket that you go to now practically has an area for where you can donate food for the homeless, you know, for you know, boxes that go to families, you know. So it's epidemic. It's unfortunately.
Even that though, I've seen those, and you know, the first time I saw them appear, they seem to have a lot of stuff in them. And I see them now, and they don't seem to have an awful lot in them.
I know.
You know? And that's the thing, isn't it?
And it's exactly what you were talking about. It's like at the beginning, it was that thing everybody seemed to sort of like, oh, thank God for the grace of God go I. But now with everybody starting to feel the pinch, can't afford to be as generous to help those who are less off. You know, so it's
I say this, I haven't got the answers. So you know, I haven't got the answers for it. So but I think this is the point of this as well. I mean, if this chat gets out there and makes just someone think, you know, maybe I could do a bit more.
Absolutely.
Or anything else that might come up. So what you got in the pipeline that you can talk about? Have you got anything that you're starting coming up?
Stuart. Just about to start again on. I do a series for Sky called Gangs of London.
You're the mama.
Yeah, of sorts, and motherfucker, more like.
Yeah, I know. That's a violent.
Yeah, it's
very violent.
series.
That's why I like it.
Do you like it, Stuart? Yeah. Gosh, and he's for such a gentleman. You know?
Oh no, I've got friends.
Yeah.
I've got friends who could fit right into that, I tell you.
Yeah. I mean, it's literally like I was at a funeral recently and one guy came up to me and literally, you know, he started talking about it and I could literally just, you know, the way he was talking about it, there was just something about the way he was talking about it. I thought, yeah, you know all about this world, don't you? No, indeed, even though
not for me. You know. It's not for me.
No. I know there's not as strange as, but it's so that we start filming that again in October.
Oh right.
So that's going to be, that takes us through till I think it's May of next year.
Oh brilliant.
So
it's nice how you've got that sort of bit of work coming along, isn't it? Like sort of set work, isn't it?
Absolutely. And I mean, it's a series, so it's 8 episodes and that takes time, you know, to shoot. And then it's, you know, they sort of have to, you know, schedule everything and get their scripts in order, get their directors in order, get their crew, get everybody back, you know, get it all so that it works together. And then of course there'll be I think they're planning to have like 2 weeks off over Christmas and then straight back in again.
Right.
It's a long time, you know, when you think about, for actors, it's different because you're not in every day. But for directors and for production side, you know, for the crew, they are in, you know, it's, you know, 5 days a week, you know, for the entire 6 months, 6, 7 months, whatever length of duration. So it's exhausting for them in terms of, and also a lot of this stuff on Gangs of London is shot at night. So it's a lot of night shoots. And particularly at this time of year, it's you're getting up in the dark and going to bed in the dark. So there's a lot of darkness about.
Sums the series up, really, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Exactly. Yeah, I think they decided. I mean, I think the first couple of episodes, the first couple of seasons, we started in January and we worked towards the light. But they've decided now that well, most of it is written and shot in dark places. So we may as well utilize that. So we'll shoot in the winter. When the months are dark, and that's harder, and it's because it's colder as well. So it makes for a grueling shoot for the crew, basically.
You need a new role. You need. I'm just thinking about, you know, Game of Thrones, and Gangs of London, Lena's film. You know, God. Trying to do a musical or something.
Well, you know, I mean, it was everybody. I mean, there was a point where I did a thing where I always got killed in it. So. At least so far so good. She doesn't get killed. But you know, oh God, here's touch wood. I mean, I haven't seen all of the scripts yet, but
we're not going to film me anyway.
I don't think I'm destined for the light and fluffy part, Stuart.
No.
Absolutely.
Well, you light and fluffy in real life.
Oh, I don't know about that. Maybe a bit light, but certainly not fluffy.
Well, I've seen you are.
A bit saggy around the edges.
No. Well, look, I've thoroughly enjoyed this, and I'm conscious of time, so I'm not going to keep you from what you're doing for any longer. But you know, please keep in touch. I know you're going to be really busy in the next 6 months. You know, if you're over at some point and you do get time. We've got the other one that I'd love you to come and meet the ladies at the Women's Refuge, because they really have gone through it, a lot of them, you know, and it's nice to see them lift, you know, because they come in and we can do a little bit more there because they've got rooms and we often can do a proper full cut and blow dry, and you get a real big before and after job. And it's really lovely, that one. So, but I'll be watching. I've got to catch up on the last of the Gangs of London, and then I'll be waiting for the new one.
Don't watch it if you're feeling depressed.
Me and the boy like it. We like a bit of gangster stuff, like a little fright from reality. But thank you so much for coming the other day. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for persevering with me, you know, in terms of getting there. And you know, I salute you, you know, what you're doing, what you and your sister and your other hairdressers do. It's incredible.
We appreciate it.
The joy you give to others is, you know,
and,
you know, it's just that thing as well, Stuart, of like touching other people. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Touching. I mean, that lovely little Italian girl, Valeria, you know, who sat down.
Oh, yeah.
Gorgeous little quirky, beautiful haircut that you gave her, and a beautiful face, and the way she just smiled. You know, just people touching other people. It's so important, you know, and if you're sort of out there on your own, that's something that you might not have.
It's what's often said. It is often said is that they say, you know, and they say, thank you for talking to me.
Yeah.
And you think, like,
for treating me like I'm a human being. Yeah. Absolutely.
Cool. Stay in touch, my dear.
Well, indeed, Stuart, and thank you. And
if there's any links you want me to put on for anything, you know, anything that's going on in your part of the world, you know, like if there's any charities or that, we put all the links on as well. So, I look forward to seeing you again.
Yes, Stuart, I do too, darling. I mean that, absolutely.
Thank you.
Take care. Have a lovely rest of your day, darling.
And you, thank you.
God bless, Stuart.